Bonjour, let's take a look at the new event. Don't worry, this time I will be doing the entire video en anglais. As usual, I'm not going to be reading out every single number in the data mine and just giving you my personal opinion on the ships as well as some key takeaways. First off is the star of the show. In France we say it Clemenceau, but since I'm speaking English for this video, I will just be calling her Clemenceau. Her loadout and skills are almost identical to her sister ship Richelieu's, but rather than providing buffs for her faction, she gains buffs for each Vicia ship in the fleet. Unlike Richelieu, her barrage does not require the flagship position, so she can be sortied along Richelieu just fine. And it is also guaranteed as long as she uses any French equipment. It is not very strong in terms of damage though by 2023 standards. Overall, she's a solid off-flag damage only battleship that will perform at her best against light armor bosses, but there are quite a lot of those these days. Maybe the combination of her and Richelieu could see some use in EX mode ranking attempts. Next up is Gui Chen, or en français, Guy Shen. She's essentially just a solid stat stick, having both good survivability and decent damage, but nothing outstanding. Her all-out assault has a cute pattern that also pierces and ignores shields, so it can rack up some extra damage against multiple enemies, but she doesn't have any mechanic to help her proc it particularly fast, so it won't be mind-blowing or anything. She also has a 2-second route tied to her torpedo launch, which by my estimation will be quite useless. Since it's tied to torp launch, it's already impossible to perfectly sync it on auto with main fleet cooldowns that don't come with the preload themselves. On top of that, it only lasts 2 seconds, and for a normal battleship with 3 gun mounts, it takes 3 seconds just for all 3 volleys to be fired. The only decent use I can see for it is using her on manual along with French battleships that have less than 3 main gun mounts, but even then she'll have trouble setting up for more than 1 battleship at a time. For 99.9% of people, she should just be treated as a stat stick. Next up is Pain Leave. Her name sounds like she's making the pain leave, so she is a healer, but en français, c'est pain levé, so it actually does not work at all. She is just a normal healer with 8 planes. You can pretty much treat her as just a much better Shouho. She definitely heals enough for all stages of the game, provided your fleet is sufficiently well constructed, but in Chapter 14 especially, Unicorn will be much better with her extra healing and anti-submarine. The purple ships are not really worth mentioning, so just get them for collection purposes if you want. Overall, there's nothing super impressive about this batch of ships, just some more options for people who want to play around with French ships. However, looking at it objectively, a full French fleet is now probably better than a full faction fleet of any of the other minor factions, being Italians, Russians, and Chinese. From that perspective, they are decently well off. Next up we have West Virginia Retrofit. Similar to Nelson, her stats are extremely high for a gold ship post-retrofit. Unfortunately, her barrage is not guaranteed like Nelson's, and her kit is more bossing oriented with the slow and battleship damage support. Another ship that she is quite similar to is Monarch. With her significantly stronger shelling though, she might have the potential to be even stronger than Monarch. And you can now play around with a USS battleship fleet composed of West Virginia as the flagship, combined with New Jersey and Georgia on the sides. Both New Jersey and Georgia's barrages will appreciate her slow, and it should be a pretty solid fleet overall. Probably better than a full French battleship fleet, to be honest. Next up, let's take a look at the PR5 Fate simulations. Harbin barely got anything. The total increase is probably less than 10%, so she's just the exact same ship as before. She was already pretty good to begin with, so it's not the end of the world. Similarly, Chkalov got a slight increase to her barrage damage. She also got a slow, but the duration is 3 seconds, and I think anything less than 5 seconds is not really going to be making a huge difference, so it can be largely ignored, but it is a nice bonus that will at least increase her own hit rate when you're not building an entire fleet around a route. Rupee got a pretty noticeable upgrade to her ghost secondaries, making them quite a bit stronger than Odin's. Her torpedo barrage also got upgraded slightly, and they also attached a meme heal to it. Unfortunately, she is still more or less flag locked, so she is competing more so with flagship battleships, with large AoE barrages and not Odin. Her on fire barrage is still not guaranteed and sucks as much as before. She was already quite strong, and all the upgrades just make her stronger, but not enough to be considered the best option for anything really. If they were gonna give her a heal, they should have made it 5% instead of 2%, which would have given her a really strong niche and made her a strong consideration in Chapter 14, even in the presence of rainbow ships. But as the way things are, she's still around the same level as other strong gold flagship battleships like Marco Polo and Gascogne. Before we wrap up, there is also a new light cruiser gun. It's actually pretty good too, directly power creeping the old gold light cruiser guns in DPS across the board. It also has 45 firepower unlike the Seattle gun, shifting things even more in its favor, and can be used as the battleship aux gun, although the stronger damage per shell of the 155mm Kai would be preferred for that role. It also has more than 10% more DPS against light on paper in comparison to the Plymouth gun, but with the lower firepower and lower hit rate due to HE shells having lower speed than AP, it will likely not be a noticeable improvement in practice, if at all. You should definitely pick it up from the shop, and it's not a terrible idea to upgrade it to +13 if you have the luxury to do so, as it is a gold gun and therefore much cheaper to upgrade compared to the Plymouth gun, and its damage numbers as well as ballistics stack up favorably against the gold guns of other hull classes. Anyway, that should be it for this update. Hope you enjoyed, and good luck in your polls. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.